What would it take for you to change your mind if someone you loved was murdered?
What you are about to hear involves a 30-year-old murder case from Blue Springs, Missouri. A man sitting in prison with little hope, and a woman who says she no longer believes he killed her aunt.
It's all the result of an investigation by KCTV5's Angie Racono.
Well, I just want them to know that the innocent man's in prison doing life without parole.
Aunt Kathy and Uncle Ken, what were they like?
They were amazing. I mean, they were my two favorite people.
Michelle Jordan says Ken and Kathy Middleton were like second parents to her.
She was the most loving woman in the whole world. She was a great, neat lady. He was great. I mean, he never said a cross word to me. I really felt like I was never disciplined.
Michelle actually lived with them when she was 8. That's because her father was deployed overseas.
It was always just happy times.
Ken fixed breakfast every morning, and that's how February 20th, 1990 started. It was just a normal day.
I remember going to the bus stop that day, and that's pretty much it.
But Uncle Ken wasn't at the bus stop that afternoon. Michelle lost both her aunt and uncle with a single bullet.
Ken had to go away, and that Aunt Cassie was dead. And I mean, my world stopped there. And I don't have any more memory after that.
Police and prosecutors say Ken Middleton pinned Kathy to a wall, shot and killed her in the middle of the day. A jury convicted him and sentenced him to life. And that's what Michelle believed for decades.
And I just really didn't have any desire to dig it back up, so I've just really kind of left it alone until now.
That's because KCTV5 investigated and reported on what a jury never heard, what Michelle never knew. She was stunned.
I mean, my immediate thought was, oh my God, maybe he didn't do this. Maybe that, he's not a murderer.
And then we placed the barrel of the weapon.
We spoke to experts who flat out believe police and prosecutors had it all wrong.
And this angle is right on the edge of the dining room table.
Robert Tressel traced the trajectory of the bullet. That wasn't done until after trial, so a jury never heard this.
There's no doubt in my mind that either the weapon hit the dining room table in some fashion to make it go off, or as she was holding the weapon, she managed to forcibly pull the trigger.
Gunshot residue tests should clear things up, but in this case, it only prompts more questions. Ken's tests are negative, but look at the test done on Kathy. That test has been altered with whiteout. Private investigator Chuck Gay says he spoke with a crime lab employee to find out why.
So what does that tell you if there's white instead of green out?
He told me someone from the police department had checked this out, the evidence, and they altered it, and he said that what they did was in total error, and basically it should have never been done.
The jury never saw this test. It was never presented in court.
When you see the gunshot residue test and you see that there's whiteout,
Yeah.
what do you think of that?
Well, the only time you want to use whiteout is if you're trying to hide something.
But what really stunned Michelle was learning Ken turned down an Alford plea about a decade ago, where he could have just walked out of prison, but he didn't.
Why didn't you take it?
Well, if it had been somebody else, I probably would have. But who it was, they were saying that I murdered. I just couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it? Do you regret it? Not taking it now? Because you're still here.
Well, hindsight's 20/20 though, ain't it?
What do you think about the fact that he turned down an Alford plea?
I mean, that to me was the biggest indicator that he didn't do this. Because what person would want to sit in prison longer than they'd actually have to? That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Michelle read the entire trial after watching our report. She also went through all of the exhibits and new testimony.
When you look at this, do you feel like your uncle got a fair trial?
No, not at all. Especially reading, some of the testimonies that have come out since that trial. I mean, absolutely not.
The original defense attorney, Robert Duncan, seems to agree he shoulders some of the blame. He even outlined what he failed to do in an affidavit before his death. He failed to take statements, never called any witnesses, didn't have any physical evidence examined, including the gun. Court records show there was no opening statement. Middleton's current lawyer calls this a perfect storm of incompetence and poor police work. Here's what we revealed about that original investigation: an altered gunshot residue test for Kathy Middleton, major problems with the crime scene photos. They had to go back and take them again because the camera didn't work. Detectives undressed Kathy's body at the scene. The gun was taken apart before testing, and this was the first homicide in 9 years for Blue Springs detectives.
You want somebody to blame, and he was the only one there, and he was an easy target.
Not everyone in Kathy's family has had a change of heart. Kathy's sisters believe a jury got it right the first time. They remain unswayed. But Michelle fears an innocent man may have been wrongfully convicted and is still sitting in prison.
What would you like to see happen next?
I'd like to see this case reopened, it looked at again, and for him to have a fair trial. I just want the truth. That's it. I don't think that's too much to ask for.
Ken Middleton is running out of time, hope, and legal options. The Jackson County prosecutor recently denied a request to review his case. He's now hoping Governor Parsons will grant clemency. Angie Racono, KCTV5 News.